republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Remember to silence your cell phones, and welcome to tonight's meeting. Our first item on the agenda is citizen concerns. If there is anyone who has a concern on an item that's not already listed on the agenda. Hearing none, item 2 is approval of the agenda. I'll move it for July 25. Second by DeWitt. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Passes 5-0. Items 3 through 8 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items will pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is requested by a board member. So item 3 is approval of the minutes of the July 18 meeting. Item 4 is approval of the claims. Item 5 from Board Administration is to approve a resolution approving petition for suspension of taxes through the redemption process for initials BT.
I have a question on this one here, Karen. Does it normally require that both names be on the application, or at least on the financial status report, if there's two names on the deed or on the Beacon website saying?
No, it hasn't. There's a requirement.
Because if the other person is making $3,000 a month, that.
It's my understanding the other person is not in the house.
Okay.
Item 6 from Board Administration is approval of a notice of property sale resolution for a parcel also known as 2025 Riverside Boulevard and setting that for Tuesday, August 8th at 4:35 p.m. Item 7 from Human Resources includes item A, approval of a memorandum of personnel transactions. This includes the promotion of 4 civilian jailers to, is that correct, Sheriff? I'm sorry? 4 jailers to sergeant positions for extra oversight.
Right, and it should, there should be very little cost. I can't imagine there is cost. Weeding out.
Thank you. Item B is to authorize the chairman to sign.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We're weeding out the acting supervisor pay. So that will assure us that we have somebody on supervising that's a sergeant all the time.
Good.
Yep.
More oversight.
Yes.
Item B is to authorize the chairman to sign the authorization to initiate the hiring process. And item 8 from the county auditors to receive the auditor's quarterly report. Anything particularly fascinating on this one, Pat? No. I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Raddick. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. By my iPad, we're about 1 minute away from our 4:35 p.m. set time. Board Administration, this is a public hearing in the sale of a property parcel also known as 2711 7th Street. The public hearing is now open for anyone who would like to approach the board and speak for or against the sale of this property before we receive bids. Hearing none, I'll move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Second by Raddick. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Now we are receiving bids. Is there anyone who would like to bid on this property? If so, come forward. Please state your name and address and your opening bid.
I'm Brett Fletcher, and my dad originally sold this property for $2 to have the house torn down, which they didn't, so the city ended up tearing it down. But anyway.
And your address, please, sir?
Right now, well, I'll be living at 4301 2nd Street is where I'm living now, but I will be living at 2719 Street, the house right next to it.
Okay, thank you, sir. And your opening bid?
He knows where I live. Yeah. I'm just going to go with the minimum bid, $179 or $155, I think.
157, sir.
Yeah.
Is that your opening bid then?
Yeah.
Very well. $157 plus recording fees. Is there anyone else who'd like to bid on this property? Going once, going twice. Move the property sold to Mr. Clutcher for $157 plus fees.
Second.
Second by DeWitt. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. He was very confident. You won it. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brad.
We will now adjourn the Board of Supervisors meeting and convene the Wolf Creek Drainage District Trustees meeting. And that includes item 10, an action item to consider quotations for drainage district repairs. Mr. County Engineer, not here. So the motion on the table is that the trustees award the work under option 2 in the proposal to Soil Solutions for repairs on the Wolf Creek Drainage District. Does anyone have any thoughts, or would they like to make a motion?
Do we want to defer these items until we have a county engineer here, or do we not anticipate?
We certainly can. I was not contacted that he would not be present, so is anyone else aware of? There he is. Guess what item we're on, Mr. County Engineer? County Engineer Mark Nara. We are on your item requesting action.
Yes. We had a request for drainage district repairs for Westergaard Farms on the Wolf Creek Drainage District. After consideration, the board directed my office to get quotations for doing the work, which was basically clean out of a couple of outlets. We did obtain quotations from 2 qualified firms who were equipped to do the work. Recommend award of the quotations to Soil Solutions. Whiting, Iowa, I believe is where they're from.
Is this a not to exceed amount, or?
It's option 2 is 165 an hour with a not to exceed of 4,400.
45, yeah.
45. Didn't have time to take that out.
Well, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any questions for the engineer? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. We'll now adjourn this Wolf Creek Drainage District Trustees meeting and continue our Board of Supervisors meeting with item 11, a series of action items from the county engineer. Item A is to consider approval of plans for project M220th.
This is for base reclamation and seal coat work on 220th from Old Lakeport Road to the point at which the current seal coat falls apart. We've obtained quotations for a base stabilizing agent that the county will be purchasing, but it'll be required that the contractor mix that in when he's doing the reclamation portion. And then application of a double chip seal to seal the surface when it's complete.
Move it.
I'll second the motion by Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item B is to award.
Just one last thing, I have 2 title sheets for the board's signatures. Last week, the title sheet for our L1 culvert project was lost somewhere, so
Yes.
I will make sure I leave with these today.
Very good.
So L stands for lost one.
Yeah.
And B is to award a quote for 1 riding lawnmower for the secondary road department.
Yes, I recommend award of the quote to Icon Ag for the $5,727.90-some.
Move the quote to Icon Ag and Turf.
Excuse me?
I would move the award of the quote to Icon Ag and Turf.
Second the motion by Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item C is to consider approval of completion certificate.
This is for project LB Bridge D38. This is on 120th Street. The work has been completed by Dixon Construction. The road is back open to traffic. I recommend approval.
Mark, this is not, this is simply secondary roads funding, it's not the bridge levy funding, or is it?
D38 was funded with secondary road local funds.
Okay, but not the bridge levy?
Not the bridge levy and not the dime. This is
Okay.
a project that was in our 5-year program
Okay. Thank
prior
you
to either of those fund streams.
Thank you very much.
I'll move approval of the certificate of completion for maintenance gravel, or excuse me, for item C.
I'll second.
Second by Taylor. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item D is to consider approval of completion certificate for maintenance gravel stockpiling at the county's railroad pit.
Oh, it's farther down. This was for a gravel stockpile bid. We put up 25,000 tons of gravel that was used for the needs of District 3. This was a 2-year stockpile we put up in that location. We also put up 5,000 tons at the request of the city of Sioux City. They were looking to save some cost on gravel. Our bid was better than what they've been getting around town. They will be handling the trucking to bring it back to town for their use. I recommend approval.
I'll move that.
I'll second the motion by Radig. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item E is to consider approval of a completion certificate for maintenance gravel hauling.
This project was funded with the additional 10 cents per gallon fuel tax share that Woodbury County receives. This is allowing us to do 80 miles of gravel roads countywide each year. This is the second year we've made this part of our construction program in an attempt to improve the quality of our gravel roads and replace base material that's been lost over time.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item F is to consider approval of another completion certificate for a project involving structure L212 on Story Avenue.
This project replaced a short span bridge that was load restricted to 8 tons, I believe, at the time it was torn down and replaced with a reinforced concrete box. The box was funded with local secondary road funds. It was one of those projects that worked its way through the 5-year program.
I'll move it.
I'll second the motion by Potabom. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12 from Building Services Director Kenny Schmitz. First is an information item A, Courthouse Building Automation Systems Controls Project.
Kenny Schmitz, Building Services. The item before you is information this week. I have with me today Corey Metzger with Resource Consulting Engineers, who I'm going to ask to give a brief description of the project for you.
Thank you. As Kenny said, I'm Corey Metzger with Resource Consulting Engineers. Shane's handing out the just a quick summary of the scope of this project. I will try to keep my remarks short, but feel free to ask any questions. I'd be happy to talk at length about mechanical systems. So with that said, the overall scope of this project is to replace the control system throughout, or systems throughout the courthouse with a new direct digital control system or building automation system. That will replace a combination of existing pneumatic, electric, and antiquated digital controls throughout the courthouse, which in many cases are combined with multiple systems in a single space where one controls cooling and another controls heating. There are numerous issues with that system that this new system should help to address. By doing that, we expect to significantly improve building energy performance, make major strides in occupant comfort throughout the building, and there are a few areas where that can't be done with the current equipment, so I'll get to that in a few minutes. Improve controllability, meaning we'll have more flexibility on what we can do with the building which helps from an energy standpoint, from a maintenance standpoint, and from a comfort standpoint. And then improved maintainability. If you were to go around the building right now and check chilled water control valves in the fan coil units that serve many of the spaces, you'd find that a good percentage of them are stuck. They can't actually actuate or operate. So there are a number of issues like that that can't be addressed or are difficult to address on a case-by-case basis because there are so many. So this will help to address that at one time. As I mentioned, there are a few areas where our existing equipment limits what we're able to do with the building. Specifically, we've got an air handler in the basement that serves the whole basement area that does not have economizer capabilities. Economizer is when we use outdoor air to cool a space when conditions are appropriate, so typically throughout the heating season, as well as in the spring and fall when conditions allow, and maybe overnight during the summer. The system has outdoor air capabilities, but there's no exhaust paired with it, so we're looking to add an exhaust fan to serve that unit so that we can pull more outdoor air in. We also have some issues on floors 3 through 7. The issues there are twofold. One is that we don't have economizer capabilities on those. They're blower coil air handlers that serve those floors. We don't have economizer capabilities there. So they require chilled water year-round to maintain cooling for the interior areas that don't have envelope losses. The other issue that we've got is you have one blower coil that serves the entire north wall of a space or of a floor, one that serves the entire south wall of a floor. And so as we were looking at replacing controls in those areas and telling people that we're going to try to improve comfort levels, it became clear that we likely won't achieve significant comfort gains by replacing only controls in those areas. Inevitably, you've got a northeast-facing room, 3 north-facing rooms, and a northwest-facing room on one blower coil. So the load profile shifts significantly throughout the day. And whoever has the thermostat is going to be comfortable all day long, and everybody else is probably going to be uncomfortable. So we're looking at some equipment replacements on those floors to try to address those issues, along with the controls upgrade. We are also going to be modifying the chilled water system to operate with a variable primary flow configuration, which will reduce pumping energy, should improve the efficiency of that system. So those are the major changes that we're looking at for equipment. One of the primary goals that we hope to achieve by incorporating those changes is to be able to disable the chiller through the winter. So right now you run your chilled water system year-round. Coldest day of the year, it's likely running. Our goal would be to get to a point where there may still be times where you run your chiller in the winter if you have a significant number of people in a few specific spaces in the building, such as this space, but it won't be running throughout the entirety of the winter. So you'll have significant energy savings there, and we should, again, be able to improve controllability. As part of the process, we're working to obtain all the available rebates that we can get, and then the control system architecture will be configured so that we can, in the future, incorporate lighting controls that can be tied in through that system, so you won't have 2 separate systems, one that's controlling mechanical systems and one that's controlling lighting. The intent would be that you could have one single interface to control all those systems. They all use the same time clock. Essentially, it's a straightforward and simple interface that your operators are already familiar with. So.
I like the fact that it makes us future ready.
Yeah. I think
Are there a lot of options for the controls? Or you said they were pretty simple. Did they just need certain components and then?
So the controls, I didn't bring a set with me today. I'd be happy to come back and go through the bid set with you. We've got about 40 sheets of control points, lists, and sequences for the different pieces of equipment in the building. So there is some complexity to them. We try to keep them as simple as possible without sacrificing potential for energy savings or comfort. But what you'll have is a single consistent system throughout the building, as opposed to having different vintages of controls that don't operate in the same way and aren't reliably working together right now. I don't know if that...
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
The term I had heard, and I don't think this is a bad word, is bastardized. that it's been, cobbled through. It's like having an Apple IIg Plus with a Lexmark printer and a Gateway hard drive, and it's all not really functioning in a synchronized manner. Is that an accurate
I
description?
think that's a very accurate way to put it. One thing that you have commonly throughout the building is pneumatic controls. Pneumatic uses air pressure to control valves and thermostats. So you'll have a pneumatically controlled heating device in a room, and then you'll have a digitally controlled cooling device. And typically, we don't want to heat and cool in the same room at the same time, but you'll find in many cases that that is occurring.
My follow-on question is, on the chiller, you can actually calculate the runtime in a single year, right? So if we're running that 8,700 hours a year right now, we should be able to quantify for this board to be able to say, this year or even this month in comparison to the previous year, you ran chilled water or mechanical cooling this much less than yesteryear. Is that
Definitely.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it tracks that in the controller. Now, that is something, one item to note is that we will be replacing the controller on the chiller. It needs to be replaced to allow for variable primary flow. So we should record those numbers prior to that.
Well, you know that you ran it every single hour of the
Yes.
year anyway, right? So now.
Unless it tripped out, we were running it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And my last question is, can you describe, because we've talked a little bit, is the lighting sequencing as far as doing the sweeps and occupancy, is that within the scope of this project? It's not? Okay.
The last point on there, I'm sorry. The last point on there was the system architecture. We're gonna put the controllers in that have enough for the expansion to do the lighting control. But we didn't wanna take the original project that you guys approved to do the HVAC automation and keep growing it so large. We wanna come back to you after that with our lighting choice.
And can you just explain to the board in a couple sentences what that would potentially be able to do from a high level?
So the lighting control would have oxy-sensors in the common offices, but in big spaces like this, it will have the ability to shut the lights off when the space is vacated. But it'll also have a program that we can set at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time you want. It will do a sweep of all of the lights that are tied into it, and it'll shut them off. So it'll make sure, even if the cleaning people didn't shut them off, it was. The great thing is sometimes Kenny's guys have been getting a lot better. They always turn the lights on as they go to the floor. But there's areas down here that we've all walked in that have lights on and there's nobody around. There'll be a vacancy sensor that will now shut those lights off when the space isn't being utilized.
Thank you.
One other thing that we've talked about today that we've heard some desire for in other conversations. We talked a little bit about a purge mode and what that purge mode would do. We program an automatic thing in that based on the wet bulb temperature, so the humidity outside, the dew point, and the temperature, that we might at 2 o'clock in the morning bring fresh air into the building, because that's the free cooling is the cheapest type of cooling to have the building set up for when your people come to work. But that would be done on an automatic basis, not somebody having to mess with it every day.
Of all the potential uses for our CIP allocations, this by far it has the best payback. I think we would agree long-term. So it's exciting to get the ball rolling.
And one of our goals when the supervisors about 2 years ago tasked us with this project, we tried to score where your building controls were right now. And we gave it a D, just if we're a school student, a D as far as, because you've got Allerton, you've got 4 different control systems in this building going on right now. This task is, our goal is to get a high B. Is where we're sitting at right now. I feel pretty confident the design we've got. We're going to get it to a high B, which is quite an improvement from where it is right now.
Any questions or thoughts? What's the timeline going forward on this? As far as bringing it back and...
We'll be bringing it back for action as soon as the...
So we're working on finishing up a few details on the set. One of the bigger items that we've identified with our equipment replacement on floors 3 through 7 is we're going to have ceiling removal and replacement required. So we're working on getting the design for that incorporated into the project. But I would expect to see us back within the next month or less.
Okay, very good.
It's ready to go.
We may have to, during this project, if approved, we may have to move some staff from some locations while part of this is taking place. But I don't see it as being a problem.
Any other thoughts on this item? Then item B is for action. It's approval of juvenile detention master control and door project and to seek competitive bids.
We're asking today that the board consider approving the seeking competitive bids of the Trosperite Juvenile Detention Master Control and Door Project. This project would upgrade, of course, the master control systems, electronic controls, and doors in several areas. The current systems that we have are antiquated and failing and in need of replacement. And so we'd like to move forward and try to get this project going.
I move approval of the AIA A232 and AIA A701 contracts to seek competitive bids.
I'll second the motion by Taylor. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 12C is approval of juvenile detention project master control and door project bid opening.
This agenda item sets the time and date of the bid opening. We're asking for opening of bids on August 22nd, 2017 at 3 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors office.
Now, I believe our office was a little confused by the use of resolution throughout this. There is a resolution or there is not?
This should be a resolution, yes.
For signature? You have it?
I don't have it for signature, no. We just need to approve it through the board.
Okay.
What is going on?
I was wondering what form of resolution we're being asked to approve, and
What is a form of resolution?
It's to set the date and the time of bid opening.
Is there a resolution before us, or? Then it's just, a motion is just as powerful as a resolution.
Okay.
To get it done.
our clerk is clear on the motion. Is there a motion to that effect?
I will move that. I'll second that effect then, since he moved it.
Who moved it? You did? Motion by Potabom, second by Radig. Any discussion or questions? All's in favor?
Sorry, this is for the August 22nd at 3 p.m. That's the motion. Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 13, in coordination with our Building Services Director, is from Supervisor Taylor. Action item, approval of a lease purchase plan for the law enforcement training facility. Gentlemen?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In coordination with the Sheriff's Office, Baker Group, Building Services Director Kenny Schmitz, we've looked at what we believe is one of the final pieces of nearly a 2-year-long process of closing Prairie Hills and making good upon the board's promise to meet the training needs of the Sheriff's Office that have functioned out there. We've taken the kitchen and we've moved it. We're also looking at the optimization of the intake area, medical ops, and HVAC, as you all know. This really is the piece that will complete the area for canine training, sheriff staff training, LAC confidential file storage. And so what you have before you is plans and details. As you may remember, this board did designate these different entities to go out and get an estimation of probable cost. And so what you have before you is a 60 by 120 foot structure, which would be erected south across the road of the old building. I put a lot of the backup just to show on at least 4 different occasions that this has been discussed in the past. And so what we have under the financial impact is a proposal for a lease purchase concept that I think will more than adequately meet the needs. And one of the things that I'd like to commend both building services, the Baker Group, and the Sheriff's Office on is communication, back and forth on trying to meet those needs. I think it's been a very good process. And so you have before you with the building costs that are estimated more like $488,000 instead of $475,000. And the reason for that difference is commercial grade doors and flooring, as well as Cat 6 strops for wireless service. You have leasing agent, Blue Path legal fees, and then also the lease term of interest, which is just slightly higher at 3.25% than a traditional CIP. That total cost estimate is $524,718. It's important to note that some of this money will not only come from what I'll propose will be sort of a pay-as-you-go lease purchase, but we've had $40,000 that has been admirably put forward by the CWA union. I believe that we can realize approximately $15,000 from the sale of the chiller that's currently at Prairie Hills, and I would estimate that we could raise another $20,000 through private fundraising. Our budget analyst, Dennis Butler, has made clear that we need not stand up a 501c3 in order to be able to realize tax-deductible contributions. And so with that, we also have an unrealized as yet Ag Expo Center that we have designation of dollars for that I believe that this fiscal year's money can be used for. And so if you take that approximately $150,000 there, we're really looking at $300,000 over the 5-year lease, or approximately $60,000 per year. And so that is an overview. When we're getting into the nuts and bolts and the building specifications, then I would defer to our building services director. So Kenny, do you want to take it from here?
I'll be brief. I think Jeremy covered everything fairly well. Again, the Baker Group and myself and the Sheriff's Department worked diligently on trying to get everything implemented into this building that they were required or needed to have. We also think that, and I want to thank the Baker Group for working with us on this. They have donated their time, and so there's no charge for their work on this project. It's appreciated because, as Shane knows, we're trying to do our best to keep costs low on this project. We are asking for donations where we can get them for the county to help with this as well, and so every little bit helps. I think the sheriff, if he wants to make any comments, is satisfied with the facility we've got drafted, and I think he would be happy to see this thing move forward.
So this is an open question. You mentioned donated time. Could you or someone run through some of the potentials for utilizing, community engagement and things like that? I think there's a lot of potential to make sure this is the maximum cost. It probably won't be the final cost. It'll probably be better than what we've projected.
Sure. I think the sheriff originally provided some numbers on not just donations, but possible proceeds that could come in from the training facility through utilization or money from other entities that could possibly be trained at the facility. So I think that'll help as well. And I'm not sure we will be looking at ideas for the building construction itself. If there's possibilities that we can get assistance from other groups, whether it be the union or someone else, to do some of the work in the building, that would also help reduce costs.
Very good. Mr. Taylor?
I would also add in that same vein, one of the ideas of this would be, and Dennis, you can jump in here if you want to set up a separate fund so that this would be kept clean, so to speak. And one of the things that I think is always appropriately asked, well, what is this going to cost then in utilities? Because we have a building nearby that I won't name that's costing a lot in utilities and repairs. So whenever you stand up a new building, that's a fair question. But when realized revenues come in from other agencies that might utilize this building, I believe that those should go to the upkeep, the maintenance, and any utilities that would be there. And I believe that that's a shared understanding that the sheriff's office has as well. So it's almost a self-sustaining, self-generating revenue source as well, and I think that that's a good thing.
Correct, correct. Another aspect of the facility is we are doing our best to design it and do things that we can do that are energy efficient, again, to help with those energy costs.
And ultimately, we should stress the point made in the memo by Supervisor Taylor, the fact that taxpayers' property taxes would ultimately be held harmless, that we have hopefully a plan to address that without property tax dollars.
Right, and
Speak to that a little.
yes, my sense would be if we are looking at $60,000 per year, that's something that could be subsumed under gaming revenues. And I think that would obviate having to go back to taxpayers for this. But at the same time, we're taking a building down that is a $1.2 million expense and making good on the promise that we are going to meet the training needs. So with that, I would move approving, and even if it's for discussion, approve moving forward with plans for a new training center for law enforcement purposes and to approve the lease purchase concept.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by DeWitt. To continue discussion, the ultimate savings for Prairie Hills that we conceptually agree goes towards something like this. We estimated over 10 years, $1.2 million. Is that about your understanding?
That's correct.
Good.
Along with that, the other thing I would say is unless, I don't know how to politely say this, but unless that building is locked up or red tagged or whatever it is so that we're not using that building, the old building. Well, right. I try not to mention it, but go ahead. I would say that we won't ever realize those savings. I mean, if we keep running that chiller, if people keep utilizing it. So the idea of standing this up, I think will motivate people not to.
That's correct. The idea is to shutter that building and sell that chiller.
And you're optimistic on the estimate of the proceeds from the chiller?
That's somewhat of a gray area. We've gotten kind of ballpark prices to see what from one of the HVAC contractors, what they thought they could get for that unit. It's just finding the correct buyer. So that is our best estimate, yes.
Any other questions, comments? Anything else, Kenny?
No, I think that covers it.
Hearing no other comments from the board, on the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 14 already is the chairman's report. Item A is WCICC. I attended July 19th with Supervisor Potabom. Some main updates there. I guess the main one is that the switch over to Microsoft Office is going well. The county is the last piece of that. And we also reviewed the performance of the shared IT director. And I think I can speak on that and say the county and the city are, again, very happy with the collaboration that's taken place and certainly the performance of the person leading and the staff leading that department. Anything to add, Mr. Potabom?
Nope, that covers it. Did you guys bring up the end of Microsoft Paint and how that's going to affect the county?
No.
No.
we did not.
Okay.
Is that your application to be on that
No.
commission next? Okay.
Well, we know it'll give you a lot more time on your hands if you don't have Microsoft Paint and the supervisor. So.
Item B is a 2017 NACO Annual Conference and Exposition, which I returned from roughly 90 minutes ago. It was good to drink from the fire hose experience of being with supervisors and other elected officials from up to 3,069 counties in the country. I learned that most of them are called commissioners, and supervisors is kind of the oddball title. There were several informational sessions over a few days. Of course, the county received a Excellence in Action Achievement Award from NACO for in the category of county resiliency, energy efficiency, and savings. That, of course, will be displayed at least in our board office. Make sure of that, and something we can be proud of, and something we can incorporate, Dennis, into our popular annual financial report, things like that. Again, Midwestern states don't win too many of those awards, so it was nice to see. And also in that particular category, a lot of the highlighted projects were community-based and outreach or services-based, but very few of them actually saved taxpayers' money like ours did, so I'm very proud of that. Secondly, I attended several different committee meetings, one of note, membership committee, probably one of the drier ones about the membership of different states and their counties in NACO. A new benefit they're rolling out is to provide all member counties with flag disposal bins. Apparently they're certified in some fashion, and so I ordered our county one, which will be used by Veterans Affairs, I assume, and you know, people appreciate that there's, in urban counties especially, there's a lot of unused or deteriorated flags that people don't know what to do with, and to keep that engagement with the county, I think, is important. Thirdly, I was appointed to the Programs and Services Committee of NACO as a vice chair, one of 4. So if the chair and 3 of the other vice chairs suddenly become incapacitated at the same time, the rule of the order will fall to me. They administrate several of the different programs and guide and direct tracking tools for counties nationwide, especially online tools, and kind of guide what they're going to emphasize for not only conferences but newsletters and things that we all as supervisors read. A lot of the issues faced by counties do not apply to us, fortunately. Of course, there is poverty in Woodbury County, but not to the extent of a lot of the urban ones. That is the main issue of the incoming NACO president. There's also a lot of counties that worry a lot about payment in lieu of taxes for national parks, federal lands. Some counties only have 5% of their land that's taxable, and we don't have a problem, certainly to that extent. And so might have more to share with next department head meeting, of course, and bring back different items and pitch ideas and stay involved. So Pat Gill also attended. Pat, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that you did an excellent job.
Oh, thank you.
And I won't be back for another 9 years.
Well, Pat did not find too many auditor-related conferences to go to, is that?
No, honestly, it is a good organization, but it is designed for policymakers and not administrators.
All right. With that, item 15 is reports on committee meetings. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
For the good of the public, when it was announced in front of everybody that I was appointed, the screen said Michael Ung from Woodbury County. So
I was thinking this is quite a big deal, being 4th vice chair to the National
Yes.
Select something. But I want to announce that today, during the Sioux City Conference Board meeting, the golden buzzer was hit for Supervisor Rocky DeWitt to serve 6 years as the Select Nominating Committee member from the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors. So there was competition between the two of us.
Let's claim that there was lack of a quorum and I got an emergency phone call and I had to go running over there. So I feel like I was lured into some sort of...
I like the golden buzzer story. But so I wanted to announce that. We did finally have a quorum, and just so you know, the actual business of that meeting was to adjust the chief deputy and deputy's wages by $2,500 annually for both, because there is no current assessor. We approved doing so as of July 1st, so retroactively, as long as there is no new assessor. When there is a new assessor, that falls off. And so who will the new assessor be? Well, you're looking at one of the people who will help to decide that, Rocky DeWitt, 6 years. So.
Again, I was lured into that trap.
I knew him before all this. So I had a couple of other ones quickly. So Supervisor Potamom and I led the department head meeting, and I thought it was a good meeting. We had some excellent presentations on physical wholeness and health from Natalie Hughes and Erica. I'm not sure her last name, but she did a great job talking about different ways that our employees can live healthier, happier lives. Gave a little bit on Naturally Slim and the sit-stand stations. Talked about emotional, mental well-being and getting counseling and help through CareBridge. And then Gary Brown and Rebecca Socknight gave an excellent presentation on emergency preparedness. And I thought it was a good meeting overall. I don't know if you had any thoughts, Supervisor Potter, on that.
That's fine, you covered it.
Okay. And then also attended TSI at the chamber today, and they're looking at either a new building or a significant upgrade to the building that they're currently in because of ADA compliance, and also some other challenges with that building as far as air. Load factors at 82%, and they're still waiting on a US DOT order as far as westbound access. And then they talked about all the different economic development, including the St. Louis developers and the $56 million Warrior Hotel that'll service the Orpheum primarily, and the Courtyard by Marriott that'll service primarily the convention center, and kind of wrestled with some of the implications of both of those, both positive and not so positive. And so that was the thrust there. And then we heard a presentation from Western Iowa Tech on creative, effective workforce solutions, and keeping more talent in Siouxland by interfacing with educators and employers, having them job shadow, and then externships instead of internships. One really interesting example was a business teacher at one of the high schools who'd never been in business before, because she went right from, that education track in college to teaching business, actually to be out in an externship where she could say, well, this is really what it's like to have interfaced out there for a couple of weeks, and here's what you need to know about the current business climate. So I thought that was really good. So that's all I have.
Externships.
Right.
Sounds trendy.
Yes, new buzz term.
I was at a 911 emergency services meeting last week, and they are inching closer to text via 911 or being able to reach 911 by text in Woodbury County. A couple of other counties surrounding us are not close, but there was some talk of putting out PSAs on when you can start using it. But figured it was going to be a delicate situation between the fact that it's available for Woodbury County but not others, and it depends on what tower you're at and various things like that. But it is getting closer, so still in the works. That's about it.
Any other committee meeting reports? Any citizen concerns? Any board concerns?
While you're raising money for the new training facility, it might not be a bad idea to, see if there's individuals out there that would be willing to donate, solar paneling to offset energy costs to go on the roof there. There's some people that have a big interest in that and might be willing to donate specifically for that kind of a project on that building.
I'll certainly ask. I know a couple are in that industry locally. It's a good idea.
Any other board concerns? Thank you. We are adjourned.
It's like a new leaf.